Yeah, that's right. We're doing Hyper Aggro again. Okay, so I'm doing Hyper Aggro again rather than the new deck because first of all, um, yeah, I've just been playing my Hyper Aggro deck a lot. And second of all, we're tier 1, let's go! I'm being like sort of quiet and not yelling because it's nighttime in the facility. But regardless, um, you may have noticed instantly that the video here says Mimless Hyper Aggro, but I got but but by the way, subscribe and like. We're at 5. Let's go. Anyways, there's I've changed my mind about a lot of things about the Hyper Aggro deck. First off, you'll notice that I actually have put in Chernobog's and Broom, 3 of each, but I have actually found that these are some of the strongest cards in the deck. Go figure it. Well, okay, strongest cards. When this deck inevitably gets another 1/4 with 2 lore, one of these is getting cut, and it's definitely Chernobog's followers. But the ability to cycle late game is the reason why you run these 1 drops over other 1 drops. Like, you don't run Daisy Duck or Nala or whatever because you don't care about these 1 drops late game. You're just trying to dig through your deck to get as many of your lore from hand cards as possible. Now, the reason why I want to make another video on this is because I have discovered just more tech than just Amethyst Chromacon and the library. You'll notice that we have the Sorcerer's Spellbook in here. My S's sound very S-y, whatever. The Sorcerer's Spellbook is really strong against matchups that, like, they can just keep killing your characters. But if it's a matchup that has no item interaction, so basically no Sapphire, no Emerald, um you have a constant lore generator on the field. Like, we're literally running a card in here that just says gain 2 lore, but this card, while slow, lets you get to 2 lore. Now, I am a little back and forth on whether it should be 2 of this card or 1 of, but I'll let other people figure that out. Um, the big card that I've really come around on is the boss is on a roll. When I first made my aggro deck, I literally did not know this card existed. I just straight up, no notes, had no idea that this card was in print. Now, if you look at the bosses on a roll, it's like everything this deck wants and more. Look at the top 5 cards of your deck, put any number of them on the top or the bottom of your deck in any order, gain 1 lore. Now, if you're a hyper aggro aficionado like I am, you'll know that the way you really win with this deck is that it's late game, so your board's been wiped, and now you're just trying to top deck your lore generators. Well, what if I told you you can just choose the lore generators from the top of your deck? I, Instead of having to hope for the top deck, you get to control the top deck, which is amazing in this deck. And then Merlin Crab's in here because I saw that one of the top 16 and also top 8, I forget who it was. Someone was running Merlin Crab in their hyper aggro, so I'm just experimenting it with it myself. Now, you'll notice I'm missing 2 cards from here. Where is Piglet? Piglet's bad. I don't know how else to say it. I Okay, bad is a strong word. Piglet is definitely very playable. However, I don't know, he's like hilariously a win more card. Like, the times you play Piglet is either you don't have 2 1 drops in your hand turn 2, or it's late game and you're like, oh, I drew a piglet. I guess I'm gonna play him out and hope for the best. He doesn't feel that great, which is really unfortunate. Same goes for the other, you know, Pinocchio Star Attraction. Cut for similar reasons to Piglet, except worse Boogaloo because he's uninkable. So if you start out with him in your opening hand, you're just kind of like, well, I guess I have this character now. like like it's weird. Like I thought these were the cards that would really tie the deck together, but no, they ended up being like some of the worst cards, which was like, what? And then Madame Mim has actually ended up being really strong here. I've not gone the combo of Merlin and Mim late game, but like that's another reason for it. But really, she's just here for the mid-range matchup where what you can do is quest with one of your two lore dorks and then bounce them back to hand so that they're protected and then play out Mim and kill off one of their characters while she usually sticks, which is really good. And then Baloo and Donald Duck, it's Baloo and Donald Duck. They're so self-explanatory. Gain 2 lore when this character is banished. Give your character, when you play this character, chosen character gets +1 this turn. Like this is usually what you're trying to play on turn 3. And is also part of the reason why Madame Mim is in this deck because she's a pseudo bodyguard. Like, I don't know how else to describe it. Simba's here for I don't know how to describe Simba in this deck. Sort of like a flexible turn 2 option, right? You'll notice that there's not a lot of turn 2 plays in this deck because generally speaking, turn 2 you want to be playing 2 1-drops, which this deck is more than capable of with the amount of 1-drops that it is running. Uh, you know, 22, 22. Also, 23 not ink is completely okay in a deck that only needs 3 ink to really function. Like once you get to 3 ink, you're just fine. And I've not encountered a hand yet where I'm like just completely dead in my hand because I just have a bunch of uninkables because I really just need the 2 if that's the case. But regardless, like you get the idea. Everything is just sort of meshing well together in this deck. And the reason why it's become tier 1 is just because ramp is running rampant. All of these greedy ruby sapphires and ruby and sapphire steel, although sapphire and steel actually deals with this deck better than ruby sapphire, but regardless, I digress. Um, you have just such a good time into those decks. And then finally, it's a budget deck. And that's a very loose term here. $120 is not exactly what I would qualify as a budget deck, but it is by far the cheapest competitive deck out of all of them. Like if we just go to popular, 185. This is like the second most cheap. 199. Like we can just go through the list. 169 because it's still running Piglet and it's the first version of Hyper Aggro that Bannable made. Blurple Merlin, 165. Sisu on Ice, 390. Like it, you get the idea. It's not super committal to be building this deck. There's literally not a legendary in this deck either. You're just running a bunch of rares, and I think the only super rare is yeah, no, it's literally just Daisy Duck Donald State. And that wasn't because of consideration of price or anything like that. That's literally just how the deck ended up being. It's just how it ended up playing. I'm like, okay, I guess this is what we're doing now. So yeah, definitely consider building this deck if you're looking for a competitive deck. Make your own assessment about how strong it will be because it's still pretty iffy with the new set of Azurite Sea. I haven't seen anything that's going to convince me that there will be support for this deck in that set. If there is, this deck obviously gets better, but support is another good one drop with 2 lore. Like we're even talking like a 1-2 with 2 lore is very good at this point, right? Because a 1-2 with 2 lore dodges all of the other 1 cost 1-2s that are played on 2 and 3 and 1 and etc. But anyways, I'll leave it at that. I hope you have a fantastic day, and I will see you all next time.